All right, welcome guys. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for making the trip to Indian River County to hear about this. We know fentanyl is one of those items that's in the news quite a bit, and so I want to keep you apprised of the operations that we have going. Many of you know that I spent 5 years in our undercover drug unit, and as part of that time, we have had rolling operations since I took office as sheriff. We're constantly working through a variety of different operations. So the last one that we talked to you about was Operation Ghostbuster. You guys have seen this before. This has been on our social media and our Facebook, a variety of different people. Paul Bryant is still outstanding on this case. He recognizes the severity of this, and we'll show you his picture at the end with his warrant and his charges. But you'll recall that we brought in 2.9 pounds of fentanyl, cocaine, all these kinds of things. Great operation. So we don't just stop. When we have an operation like this, we're constantly rolling on these. And we've got some of our team members here today. Obviously, we don't want to show them on camera or anything like that. But they're certainly doing an amazing job in getting this terrible, this poison off of our streets. And so this is part of Operation Ghostbuster. Not sure if we were able to provide these photos last time, but this is some of the drug money and some of the poison that we've gotten off the streets, as well as guns. Big deal. And so I tell you that to say these operations are always a little bit behind. And when we can talk about them is always a little bit delayed. And so we're always waiting for the cases to catch up in the court system and a variety of different things. Sometimes it's people are flipping and giving information as informants and things like that. It's always a timing issue for us when we can release them. So today we're here to let you know about Operation Knockdown. This is our latest one. So Ghostbusters ran from 2022 to 2023. Knockdown picked up in 2023 and ran for almost the entire year. We're here to talk about it today because a number of these folks have recently been brought in for federal charges, for state charges, and we're finally at a point where we're ready to disclose all of this information. And all this will be sent out in a digital packet as well. We're really happy about this operation. I can tell you we had a pound of fentanyl as part of this that we're taking in, approximately 5 pounds of methamphetamine, and a little bit of cocaine as well. And so the big deal here is that we're focused on this fentanyl. This is where we're having the big overdoses at. In 2021, we made 7 arrests on fatal overdoses. So these are cases where we were able to charge people in the deaths of people who died in Indian River County. 3 arrests on non-fatal cases. In 2022, we had 9 fatal arrest cases. In 2023, 3. And so far in 2024, we've had 1 fatal arrest. And I can tell you this, we're working mostly with our federal partners to make this happen. We have some state cases that we're going to talk about inside of here. And the details of all of this is, each one of these cases is a full operation in and of itself. But pulling this together and getting these people off the streets is a really big deal for our team. So I'm going to switch over here to Operation Knockdown and just give you a little bit of information. Joel Flowers and Marlon Clark that are up here, these guys are still waiting for their time. Alfonso Coleman Jr., Feature, Echeverria, these guys we're still trying to figure out what their state charges are going to end up. Antonio Jennings as well. Jamie Parker, who's down here, Dirty Red, AKA Dirty Red, he had 13 years. He got 13 years in the federal system for a sale charge. He's been on our radar for a long time. Donald Roll, just yesterday morning, 9 years in federal prison. He's going to be doing 9 years in federal prison. Sudie Stinson, recently the media reported on this one. I know, Corey, you guys reported on Sudie Stinson's case. 16 years in federal prison. D'Angelo Williams is still waiting. Richard Williams just got 5 years in state, so we're ready to talk about that. Antonio Biggs, he's still one that we're processing. And so this is a massive operation for our team. We have a rather small drug unit, and I can tell you that our team does an amazing job with the resources that we're given. This is the drugs. This is what we recovered as part of this operation. Again, this will all be provided to you in digital format to put out. The one that's really interesting in this case, though, is those first 2 guys. I'm going to tell you why. They sold Joel Flowers, if we go back here, Joel Flowers sells 395 pressed fentanyl pills to a confidential informant. The pills were disguised as oxycodone. Lab tested positive for fentanyl. So these are folks that are out there in the drug game that think they're buying oxy and they're buying pressed fentanyl pills. Extremely dangerous. These are the kinds of things that lead to overdoses for us. And so that's why it's so critically important that we get these folks off the street. Again, these are the drugs. This is the kind of thing you see with the pills. crystal methamphetamine pills up there in the corner as well, pressed. It looks all different ways. There's no guarantee of what that fentanyl is going to look like. Again, we'll get this to you. And here's Paul Bryant. He's our guy who's still active. We're trying to find him. This is where we need your help. We need you to get this guy in custody. He has fled from us. He's been on the run. He knows how serious these charges are, and he knows that he's going to go away for a very long time. So if anybody out there knows where Paul is at, you'd be eligible for a reward from Crime Stoppers, up to $5,000. We're definitely looking for him. He's one of our top guys. With that, I'll take any questions.
Eric, when you said that he had 395 pressed pills disguised as oxycodone, did he know that it was disguised as that and selling it that way, or what was he doing?
Those are being pressed. I mean, somebody with a pill press is doing that, and they know what they're getting. Fentanyl is going to be a lot cheaper than those oxycodone pills. They're able to get that fentanyl in a much lower rate than it would be to buy 395 oxycodone pills at this time. So they know exactly what they're doing. They know they're selling this stuff, and it's killing people. And we're making arrests on those deaths. So every time, and this is one of the things that people don't understand about Indian River County. There's a whole lot of counties out there that are going out and making drug arrests and doing these kinds of things. But there's very few counties that are following up and actually making arrests on the deaths. So our team, every time we have a fatal death, responds out there with a detective. One of our drug guys is out there, and we're working it backwards. We're going to find who sold these drugs. And if we're able to make a case, I told you those statistics, in 2022, 9 cases on fatal, 2023, 3 cases on fatal, we're going to hold them accountable for that person's death. We're going to hold them accountable. And I mean, I don't want to call her out, but we've got a victim here, somebody whose loved one died, who came to me and said, hey, your guys made a case on a guy who killed my person. And that's crazy. I mean, it gives me chills to talk about. That's a crazy thing. There are so few agencies that are following up on that. Everybody up and down South Florida, we're all responding to these overdoses. But very few agencies are following up on these the way that we are. And we're making arrests, and we're putting these people in federal prison for selling this poison to people.
Was it a year-long investigation?
So Knockdown was pretty much all of 2023. Ghostbusters went 2022 into early 23. When that one ended, you heard from us in 23 about Ghostbusters towards the end of 23, early 24. I think it was actually February of 24 that we started talking about Ghostbusters. Now we're ready to talk about Knockdown. And here's the real threat to the bad guys that are out there. We always have operations going, all the time. And we're coming after them all the time. It's happening right now. We've got operations going all the time. So these are ones that we're talking about. There are people that are on these lists that still face charges, that are going to face additional charges for killing people that we haven't followed through with yet. And so it's imperative for people to know that if you're in this business, it's just a matter of time before we come to get you. And the bad guys think, oh, they're worried about the undercover cops. They're worried about the sale. I know. I spent 5 years in the undercover buying from these guys. They're worried about our guys showing up to buy. They shouldn't be worried about that. They should be worried about, if I sell this, is this person going to die? Because if they do, they're going to go to prison.
How many people Operation Knockdown are facing murder charges?
You say, can you answer that on that? You do some math for me?
So, so Dirty Red that you talked about,
yep.
He was related to a fatal overdose.
Okay.
He's the one that pled to 13 years.
At least one, and there's potential for more.
Sudi Stetson as well.
Sudi. So 2, and there's potential for more. There's ones that you guys don't want to talk about that we talked about before that they're not comfortable talking about yet. So 2 that we can talk about right now.
Mm-hmm. How many fatal overdoses have there been this year for you?
Do you have a count on that, guys?
For fatal overdoses, I believe we're at like 3.
3 so far this year. Mm-hmm.
Are there certain areas that are being targeted for these drug sales?
We have them all over the county, and our team is not scared to travel to make these cases. You know, we have bad guys that recognize the boundaries. They know what counties are serious about this and what counties aren't, and our team does not care. There's been cases in the past where our team has gone as far as West Palm to make an arrest on somebody who peddled drugs to our team. And we're going to trace it back, how far it goes. We're going to trace it back as far as we can possibly go. So we don't know jurisdiction when it comes to this. If somebody out there kills an Indian River County resident, they overdose on our watch, they're going to end up facing charges as a result of it. Mm-hmm. Questions, Dylan?
Now, if you're a resident, you see all these arrests, it would be understandable if you're alarmed that you see all these, but what is the message you want to send to the community that you're getting these off the streets?
If they're alarmed by these arrests, they'd really be alarmed by the number of overdoses that are happening. And that's the really sad part of this. Our folks carry Narcan with them. The ambulances have Narcan. We bring people back to life every single day. And that's not happening just in Indian River County. That's in all the counties. That's the Treasure Coast. That's down to South Florida. That's North Florida. That's everywhere in the United States right now. This fentanyl is coming across our border. Every one of us is a border county now. And so law enforcement has transitioned to not being just first responders and providing first aid in crashes, but we're saving lives when it comes to this stuff. And that's why we're so serious about it. That's why we got our team dedicated to getting this stuff off the streets, because it's killing people every single day. And it doesn't make the news. It's an item that is just not, you know, somebody dies of an overdose. It's not something you guys talk about. We'll talk about shootings, we'll talk about stabbings, but the overdoses never make the news. But on every other overdose that happens, there's a loved one. There's somebody that had been trying to get that person off of these drugs. And so our goal is always to stop it before it happens. The other thing that's happening here is in our jail, we're providing services. We're providing Narcan to everybody who leaves the jail. We're providing training on how to give that Narcan. And we're trying to get them off of drugs before they get back out in the community. And so this is a full operation for us, not just what our detectives are doing, but what's happening in our jail, what's happening with our team on the board for substance awareness. It is an all-around effort from our entire team. I'm incredibly proud of Operation Knockdown. I think it's unbelievable that we're able to take all these wonderful drugs off the streets and get these bad guys where they need to be. There are guys up here that I've been chasing since I started here. Jamie Redd is one of those guys. And it's long past time for him to go to prison for a very long time. Especially he's going off to federal prison, which is exactly where he needs to be. There's a whole lot of people. And I'm glad that the feds are serious about this. I wish they'd be serious about not letting it come across the border. But they're serious about prosecuting this fentanyl. And we're going to keep doing it. We're going to take advantage of that wind at our backs right now. The fact that the federal prosecutors are interested in prosecuting fentanyl. And we're doing everything we can to get this off the streets.
Sounds like a crisis you have here.
It's a crisis in America. It's not just here in Indian River County. You know, I went down to the border a couple weeks ago and it's wide open. There are people trafficking this stuff right across our border. And so every bit of this fentanyl that we get is coming across the Mexican border. It used to come in the mail. It used to come from China. All the operations have been moved to Mexico. It's coming right across our border. And these are local people. These guys that are on this list, when I tell you I've been chasing them my whole career, these guys were crack cocaine peddlers when I started. Then they started peddling pills, and now they're peddling this fentanyl. And it's long past due. I'm glad that we're being serious about this. Everybody, you know, has kind of gotten soft on cocaine and soft on crack, the feds and all this stuff. Not anymore. They're serious about fentanyl, and we're serious about it too. We're going to take advantage of that. We're going to make sure that these guys go to prison for a long time. It's a good operation. I'm proud of our team. They do an incredible job, very little manpower, and they do an amazing job with what they have. I'm glad that all these folks are going off to federal prison, and stand by because we got more coming. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. Mm-hmm.